Supposed to be on. Okay, I think we're good. What's up, everybody? How are y'all?
Hello, friends and brothers.
Welcome to the Masonic Improvement Live podcast hour with your host, this guy and this guy.
Hour. You see him trying to set the pace there. The hour. Yeah, right. I can't even breathe in an hour. It takes me that long just to collect my thought.
Right off the bat, we got a really good comment, so I want to
Go
address it.
ahead.
A brother named David Bendel, maybe you met him before. He said,
Oh, I've heard of him.
"Glad we fixed all the problems last week. Is there anything left to do? There's a lot left to do.
Yes, there
There's
is.
a lot left to do."
You know there is.
Are you baiting us? No.
I
The
know.
first thing is we have to build forward, moving forward, right? Use this opportunity, create excitement, create positivity in the fraternity again. Move forward. You said we completed a lot, we fixed a lot, sure, but if we don't take advantage of that, it was a waste. And we also have to keep in mind that what we did this year, we have to do every year. We have to show up in force, know exactly what we want out of our Grand Lodge, and demand it. Demand it. Because we cannot relapse. We cannot step back. It is a constant fight, but we have to be willing to show up and put up that fight every year. Otherwise,
I need to
everything
give I
will
need to give you this hat. I need to give you this hat because you know it just sounds like it's going to be great. We're going to keep on going. We're going to do this.
yeah.
By the way, this was given to me after the big day at Grand Lodge. Somebody gave it to me. I don't even know who the maker was of this, but I thought I'd wear it tonight just to say, yeah, we're rocking with Grand Lodge. But Justin's right. We do have to continue on, but the most important thing that we can do right now is realize that we were not the only ones in this fight.
Oh yeah.
You know, we saw a lot of brothers step up that finally felt like they had a voice. When 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 we took that when we took a survey of the lodge, and I've said this a couple of times now, when we took a survey of the lodge, we saw a lot of white hair, and I'm going to also throw in bald heads in there because there's a lot of those too. There's a lot of glares and white hair all the way around, a lot of reflections, right? But the silver lining in all this is those brothers really felt like they finally had a voice back,
Mm-hmm.
and they came to give their voice, and that's the beauty of what happened this time. Because sure, there was a few brothers that took a stand to make sure we got back on track when they tried to manipulate the form and rules of our uh, of our session. But if it wasn't for all the brothers that showed up in force to reinforce those thoughts and those beliefs, then it would have been all for naught. We would have been just sitting there with our necks strung out, just waiting, like that one post that they were talking about, joking about building the guillotine. We would have been seriously just sitting there waiting for the guillotine to come down, because it would have, if we didn't have the support of all those brothers. So now is the time for us to embrace that unity that we didn't realize that we had. For so long we've separated ourselves from the other generations, thinking that we had all the answers and these guys were just the old guys that let it all fall to crap.
Mm-hmm.
But really, these guys were the guys that felt like they had the thumb on them by a couple of guys, maybe in their district or their lodge, or even as far up top as Grand Lodge with the past Grand Masters. They felt oppressed and suppressed under tyranny, to where they were afraid to get out of line and get squashed and end their Masonic career that they put 25, 40 years into. So now is the time for us to embrace what we have as a brotherhood of a mentor generation that is ready to mentor us, as well as be apprentices to what we have to offer coming into this new era of Freemasonry that we get to experience here in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that answers your question, Dave. And I'm so glad you asked, because that is such an important thing we have to think about every day as we move forward. We have to think about how we're going to run with this and not just sit on our laurels and say, hey, we had this great victory. We're the man. We did all this. And then all of a sudden it all just falls out from underneath us. Because if we don't show that we deserve what we had, then it will be taken back away from us.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Excuse me, I'm going to do a costume change real quick.
Sure. David Lawson says that I think a lot of eyes were open after hearing some of the reports and seeing them rejected. Yeah, I agree, and I think it really kind of set the tone when the Grand West is saying, no, that's not accurate. That's not the full story. We're not going to hear that. It showed a kind of a change of mentality, because in the past we would just accept reports and approve them, and that was all there was to it. We didn't really look too far into it. But now it's like a new generation of accountability. We've entered into, like, you actually need to, if you're going to tell us, actually show us the facts. Don't give us a report based off something that was just solved by one person, or partial information, or half truths. Especially when we know
that was beautiful. That was beautiful.
Oh,
when
yeah.
they stood up and said, "Wait, this was only read by one person. How can we approve this?"
Yeah,
and just really made it look like like a sack of potatoes right there in front of everybody. That was beautiful. I just got to say that was awesome. And that's the way it should be, right? We should be standing up for the splitting up pieces in those reports, because there are so many things that fall into that we can't just do a massive approval of the whole report. We have to really dissect it.
Yeah.
And make sure that we approve every bit of it, or approve none of it until we can approve every bit of it.
I think one of the biggest takeaways in context of what we're talking about right now is you have to be constantly vigilant. And we assume because we take good men, and we claim we take good men, and we claim that we make them better, that it's just an organization of good men, and there's no need to have a constant vigilance. And that's not true. And it's been demonstrated, not just here, other jurisdictions as well. It's been demonstrated. If you get if you start resting on your laurels, if you get comfortable, then the enemy will come. Whatever your beliefs are, right? The enemy will come and it will infiltrate. And so you have to be constantly vigilant. And like I said in the comments, it's an uphill battle. It is a constant uphill battle. And that's not to be discouraging. It's just to be factual. Be ready. If you want to improve your fraternity, if you want to keep it at the highest standard that is possible, you have to be constantly vigilant and constantly willing to fight that uphill battle. And there's no rest. There's no breaks. Because when you do, that's when we start sliding downhill. And it's the same, and it's not exhausting. It can be, but it's no different than saying I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to start taking better care of my body. Once you stop going to the gym, everything slides down too. Or I'm going to start eating healthier. Well, once you stop eating healthy, everything slides. It's the same principle. I'm going to uphold high standards in my fraternity, in my lodge, and in my Grand Lodge, and I'm going to hold other people accountable. Because, frankly, and I'm sorry for my rant here, we are an honor group. We are an honor group. And I've talked about this before on the show. An honor group means that here we are, and if you want to be in this group, you have to rise to meet this. So we don't come down here. We don't meet you where you're at. You rise up here. And if you fail to maintain this standard, you're not in the group anymore. That's what an honor group is. And that's what we are. And we have to start holding one another accountable here. Not down here. Well, he's had a rough day. He's had a rough month. No, here. This is the level. This is the level. Because we all have rough days. We all have rough months. We all have highs and lows in our life. But this is the level right here.
I'm taking a picture of this because I'm gonna make sure and tell you that next time I have to remind you. Not just kidding. I would like to say also along those lines, and I'm gonna revert back to Brother Bindle. I'm so happy you're here. I was just thinking about you yesterday. I was thinking, man, I need to call him. I hadn't talked to him since before all this debacle, and but I've been sick. I've had the flu all week. In fact, I've had a headache still all day today. And these interviews are really the only activity I'm doing, except for, just trying to nurse myself better. But in thinking about Dave and the talks that we have, let's not forget that every one of these people, even though they're more members than even though they are more member driven in their mind and not Masonic driven in their mind, they thought they were doing the right thing, right? So you got to remember that these brothers, they're still brothers, but they had these thoughts in their mind that they were doing the right thing. And so it's not that I'm not out to hang anyone, just yet. I mean, there's people that obviously deserve to answer for some of the things that they've done. Don't get me wrong. And there's some very bad things that have happened within our fraternity to some very good men that should never have happened. And I think that people need to be held accountable. However, remember and keep in mind and be compassionate within, because just like we feel like we're on the right side of justice, they felt like they were on the right side of justice, trying to protect the fraternity they believe in, right? They have this different thought of what the fraternity is, and they were fighting for that same thing. So in the back of our mind, even though that I truly believe we did do the right thing, because we gave the voice to craft, and that is number one, and it's paramount above all else, above what anybody thinks. The collective is what matters in Freemasonry. But we have to be compassionate because we fail as humans, because we are human. So we have to remember that in all of our dealings, and as we're going forward, and do this with a little bit of humility and understanding that, we need to watch ourselves as well. Just like Dave and I have talked about, you and I have talked about, Justin, and of course it started all with me and my mentors, Chris and Brad. One night, us three were sitting around talking and drinking, and Brad looked at me and said, "Man, we cannot become the men that we're trying to get out of this power struggle. We cannot become those people. We're not doing this just to become the other force that everybody despises because we're making all the rules and all the changes. We have to do this with a pure heart and with pure intentions, and give it to the craft to make those decisions and help them along the way. That's our job." And I got to tell you, man, I am fortunate to have brothers that are that caliber leader, that they're so confident in their abilities that they don't need to be in the spotlight. They just want to give the option and then let the craft decide. And they believe in the goodwill of Freemasonry always prevailing. And that is the kind of hope in the message that we need today going forward in this project of unity and rebuilding of Texas Freemasonry.
I think as long as you're keeping the power in an educated Grand West, you're safe from becoming what you're trying to change, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Education is key.
And I mean, we hit the education hard last year, and we'll continue to do that. But the Grand West showed up in force because they were educated, I think, because they knew something was afoot and they had to take care of it. And so there's no danger of becoming what you're trying to, what you fear the most, if you're keeping it democratic, right? And there's a difference between y'all can vote on this guy I choose or this guy I choose, as opposed to the Grand West nominating people and voting like we did. It's very different. If I tell you can have mint flavor, spearmint flavor, but I chose both of them, it's not really a choice, right? It's not really an option, as opposed to as opposed to actually people nominating and voting for who they think is the most qualified. So I'm so proud of Texas for what we did, because I knew that all the eyes were going to be upon Texas this grand session, and
they still are.
They still are, and we had the opportunity to say, "Hey, look, we're not going to take this." And when we showed the other jurisdictions, no, we're going to show up in force, and we're going to vote to change. That tells the other jurisdictions, hey, wait a second. Maybe I could do something. Maybe we could do something in our jurisdiction too. And you can't. You can't. The Grand Lodge in every jurisdiction belongs to the Grand West. So you have to work in whatever parameters your law allows to be sure that it stays there. And you have to fight. And it's constant.
Yep.
But man, I don't know about you, Dennis, but I breathed a sigh of relief. I did not let my guard down until that last gavel dropped. Until I knew it was over. And but man, I breathed a sigh of relief on the way home.
Well, I once we got there, and it took a while to get going the next morning, I got to tell you, man, I got pretty emotional Saturday morning. I actually, drew a tear driving up to Grand Lodge, because usually at 7:30 in the morning, it's there's quite a few cars there, but there's not what was there that Saturday morning. When I drove up, I actually had to park 2 blocks back from where I had parked previously, the previous 2 days that I was there. And it just brought a tear to my eye, because really we were worried that they were going to actually come in and open Grand Lodge and then close it and let everything carry forward through the next year. And they could have done that if there hadn't been enough people there. But there were enough people there that there was no way they were going to get away with that. And so for me, when I drove up and saw that, because I knew that if we didn't get there by 7:30, it was very possible that the doors would be sealed at 8, and we wouldn't have an opportunity to protect our Grand Lodge. Mm-hmm. And that was a real fear, and those are real tactics that have happened in different Grand Lodges and stuff. And so there was good cause for that. So when I saw that Saturday morning, man, I just knew. I knew right then and there mm-hmm. that the brothers were there. They meant business. They were serious. And everybody was paying attention to every little movement of Grand Lodge throughout the whole weekend, because we could post one thing and say, hey, get back to Grand Lodge. And before the elections, oh my gosh, everybody had gone out for lunch and they immediately started elections. And so I texted, get back, they're starting elections. And oh my gosh, people were just pouring in. The lines just would not stop. It was like a water flow of people just pouring in the halls. And I'm not saying that I'm, Mr. Popular or whatever, but that's just how closely everyone was paying attention. Mm-hmm. And if one person saw it, it was like telling 20 others, let's go, we got to go. And the only people that didn't show up were the ones that were across the street stuck with a tab to pay that couldn't get over in time. But as soon as they drew in, the Grand Marshals hit the gavel and said, seal the doors, mm-hmm. because that's what happens every time we go to vote. But he let all those people pile in, and that freaking auditorium was damn near full. That in itself made me just want to cry right there, because I've never seen such unity in our fraternity, in our jurisdiction like that. I mean, it was beautiful. It really was one of those moments.
Yeah. I'm sorry. So Friday morning I got there like 8:30 or something. And I mean, it was pretty packed, but I could still get parking. Like I pay, it's like an old gas station. They kind of catty corner, and I pay to park there usually if I can't get a spot in the parking lot. And then Saturday morning, I showed up an hour earlier because everything got pushed up, And I went around that corner, and it's just cars as far as you could see. It's like, holy cow! Like I had to park 3 blocks away in front of somebody's house and walk. I mean, but that's crazy. But that's so good. Like I've never seen Grand Lodge packed like that, and I don't think most people, maybe the real old timers like back that were alive during like the 50s and 60s, they may have saw it that full, but it has not been that full in a long time. So that was super cool. Steve Anderson says they're having the beginnings of a power struggle up in Oklahoma, and he hopes they can handle it as well as Texas did. Yeah, that's interesting. I haven't heard anything about Oklahoma. He says theirs is in November. The struggle is over matching funds of the state charitable fund. Man, just don't give an inch. Decide what you think is right, and don't step down. Don't back up.
Right.
David Lawson says they tried several tactics to control the situation, but the Grand West will let them get away with anything. Yeah, as soon as they announced they were going to change the order of business, yeah, I think we all knew they were up to something, but it's all right.
Well,
It's all
we
good.
kind of planned on that to begin with.
Yeah.
So we already knew that was going to happen because that's one of their favorite tricks, right? Because most Masons that go into Grand Lodge don't really fully understand all the rules of order and all the different laws that apply to the actual rules of order. And so and there's not that many really. There's only like 4 or 5.
Mm-hmm.
And but they're pretty, you know, they're pretty I don't know, elaborate. But anyways, most Masons don't really understand that, and so they utilize that lack of understanding to manipulate the way that things are done. I mean, they can. I've actually seen where committee reports that would normally be done in the beginning be pushed back to the very end so that everybody's gone because they don't want to see elections, and then they do those committee reports right before elections, and there's nobody there to say no, so it all gets approved and things like that. So they, you know, those tactics are pretty common within Grand Lodge with the particular people that were trying to pull the same thing within the structure of the rules of order.
Steve Anderson says basically, talking about Oklahoma, it's basically urban lodges trying to shut down rural lodges. I'm very interested in the situation, but I don't know enough about it. But first
I'd
I've
like
heard
to
about
know if somebody wants to come on, then let us know if somebody
Yeah, that'd be
that's
yeah. If there's someone in Oklahoma that can give us kind of a
yeah,
rundown, maybe sometime they can come on the show or something.
yeah, maybe if we had one person on one side of the coin on one, you know, for one session, one talk, and then another person on the other side of the coin on the other talk. That way we could kind of get the idea of both sides and understand what's going on.
Yeah.
That'd be great, because the more people that are watching, the more serious everyone starts taking the proceedings, and the more people will probably show up to your grand communication to get things done.
Education, man. We're here to help. Dennis, by the way, while thinking about it, I don't think you ever sent me a copy. Was it you that I asked to send me a copy of? Yeah, it was Goliad's standard operating procedures. Will you send that to me sometime when you think about it, please?
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, I randomly, because I got to do some stuff in my lodges, so this is what made me think about that. Let's back up.
So
Let's look at the comments.
Go ahead and look at the comments while you're doing that. I'm going to state real quick, if your lodge is one of those ones that would like to have alcohol at the end of the meetings or whatever, make sure you remember the very next stated meeting to bring up changing the standard operating procedures. All you have to do is vote on it, and it can be done at one meeting, and vote on changing the standard operating procedures to include having alcoholic beverages on the premise.
Don't you think they need to maybe do it anyway? If they don't want it, they need to say they don't want it in their SOP?
No.
Or at least reevaluate?
No, That's overthinking it. That's why we have such a big law book. All you got to do is state what your intention is, because if it's not there, then it's not there. You don't get to just bring it in. That would be against the law.
Gotcha.
But if it's there as part of your standard operating procedures, then you actually can make it happen, because it has to be the will of the lodge in its entirety. And with standard operating procedures, that's basically the members that show up normally to the lodge. The bylaws, if you never have included rules of business or standard operating procedures to your bylaws, then you'll have to change your bylaws, and that takes 2 months to do, and you have to send it to Grand Lodge for approval. But this can actually be done in standard operating procedures if you've got that set up in your lodge.
Yeah, email all that to me if you
one vote. Just one vote, and it's notifying Grand Lodge. They don't get a say. They just have to okay it, because it's how you do things. Bylaws is what you do. The standard operating procedures is how you do it. And so that's why it has to be in there. So remember, guys, those laws have changed, but there are actions you have to take to stay within those bounds. And so make sure you're doing that. Make sure you're reading those new resolutions properly as amended, and follow them to the T, so that you're not breaking the laws of Texas. Go ahead, Justin. Sorry about that.
No. Yeah, send me all that if you will.
Yeah.
Caesar says these struggles, Masonic Muscle, by the way, if you haven't listened to podcasts, it's a great podcast. These struggles are happening everywhere. They're just manifesting in different ways, but they stem from the same place. Yes, the West Gate. That's where they're stemming from. The West Gate. Us lowering our guard, and then people that shouldn't be in, letting other people in that shouldn't be in, because we lowered our standards.
I think it's also what we touched on, last week, and then this morning on our interview with On the Level down in Florida. So guys, be watching for that. That one's going to be coming out soon. Mm-hmm. It's On the Level. It's another Masonic podcast out there, and they're doing great work. And we were on it this morning. But the thing is, with the struggle, it's because some people are members and some people are Masons, and the members tend to seek the feathers, and then they put themselves in a position of a high place, let's say an invitation only body, and then they invite certain people in and they give them these feathers, and everybody owes their feather to this one guy, to the one chief. And then they say, okay, you guys are going to go into this body, this body, this body, this body, and this body. And that's all on the back of this one chief. And then all these people become heads of these different bodies, and then they put themselves in each other's bodies to build themselves up, so they have all these feathers. Now, the reason why these feathers are so important is because when it comes time to make yourself available for elections or whatever, we're not allowed to politic in Freemasonry. Well, actually, it's not even called politicking. It's actually electioneering. We're not allowed to do electioneering. And so when people are looking at the lists of people's achievements, all they see are their feathers. And so you've got these guys that have these huge lists of feathers, and you have these other guys that have just been working. They've been working it, just trying to do the best they can for the craft. And some of them have a lot of the same feathers, but man, they earned it from the ground up. And so there's a big difference. And if we didn't have this popularity contest with feathers, then maybe we could get down to some people who were honest and genuine about their intentions and had a real platform to make themselves available and give us a good reason why they should be there. And until we change that, we're always going to have that problem.
So David Bindle said, and this would be a great shirt, as we'll be in the 2024 proceedings of the Grand Lodge of Texas, we've upped our standards, up yours.
Nice. Texas has upped their standards, up yours.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that.
Something I wanted to add to what you said.
That's awesome.
the difference between members and Masons, and the reason it's so easy to find bad Masons in leadership in a lot of places, is because members will do things to obtain power that Masons won't do. And that's why it's so important.
Say that again.
Members will do things to obtain power that Masons won't do.
Right.
And that's why it's so important to be vigilant and to hold people accountable and to guard that gate. Guard that west gate.
Well, and to be fair, the members that are doing these things that Masons won't do, that's just because that's what they know to do. I don't think some of them, the ones that are just starting off in this game, right? I think they're doing it because they think that's how you have to do it. I don't think that they're doing it intentionally to be malicious or anything like that. Because I specifically saw people that would normally be on the dark side help with the light side on that Saturday and that Friday. I personally saw that. I witnessed that firsthand. People that I normally would not communicate amicably with, all of a sudden we're communicating and things are getting done and achieved.
Imagine that
together. Yeah. Well,
a wise man sees when the tide is turning, right?
Well, right, but I also think that means that's not so engraved in that person that they can't make a better decision today, right? Because we all make mistakes and we learn from those mistakes. That's how we grow as individuals. And so, now of course it's not going to be easy because he's engraved in that system, or there's a few of them that are engraved in that system. It's not going to be easy, but with enough touches of the good, you end up showing somebody that there's another pathway that they can take instead of following the same one that they've been on.
Sure.
So I think some positives came out that way as well, and we can't always think of every one of them as being so ingrained in that theology, that member theology, that they can't become Masons, because I think some of them were Masons when they started.
Mm-hmm.
They just became members because Masonry, what they thought was Masonry, wasn't at their lodge. What was at their lodge was membership, right? So they just learned what they were taught. So I think that it kind of, man, I'm so bad today. I'm so wishy-washy, I guess. I'm on the fence on everything.
You're a nice person.
But really, I'm trying to remind everybody that there's been some awesome silver linings in this whole thing that we need to grasp onto, instead of looking at all the, we did this, we accomplished this, we're badasses and all this. It's not about that. It's about all the sources of light that we can take and put into our story and build it up strong so that we can have something to share with the brother next to us.
Yeah, and I think really Grand Lodge is done. We're done for another year, right? We were successful. It was a great Grand Lodge. Let's just build off that, right? Moving forward, let's not focus. I mean, it's easy to spend the entire 2024 year looking back on how awesome January was and get so caught up in that we don't accomplish anything, right? It's time to. I don't know.
Don't you watch TV? Don't you watch TV?
Is that Farticus?
That's from. Oh shit! Now it just left my mind. Now that everybody else knows what I'm talking about. Go ahead.
Maximus. What was that? Gladiator.
Yes.
Gladiator.
Yes.
Yeah,
Gladiator.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was so funny.
Well, the resolution about calling a special communication has to lay over another year, doesn't it? Isn't that like a 2-year thing?
No, that was not that was not an amendment to the Constitution. That
Okay.
was I need to look at that. I think that was a change of. It's like the SOPs kind of thing,
Got you.
not a
But
change to the
while you're
actual
looking at
Constitution.
that, so let's I want to spend the rest of this year creating positivity in Texas Freemasonry, supporting our Grand Master, supporting our Grand Lodge officers, supporting our district deputies, because they were through for a loop at the last minute. So, are you not entertained? Most worshipful Shank is on here. Welcome, sir.
Hey,
But let's
thank you, most worship. That's awesome.
let's focus on positivity and improving our lodges, improving our Freemasonry. We have a lot of options after some of those resolutions passed. Let's work within the parameter of our Grand Lodge laws. Let's work with our Grand Lodge officers, be supportive of them, and just make it a great 2024. And there's no reason we can't do that. And then when November, December rolls around, we'll start looking at January again. What do we need to do? But let's enjoy the time we have and enjoy our Freemasonry and build up our Freemasonry. Travel, do degrees, be vigilant, and use this opportunity to improve your lodge. And look at your procedures, improve your procedures, look at your operating procedures, look at your bylaws, and just take time to just reevaluate how you're doing everything and start improving your lodge. Oh, nothing was held over. Well, that's good. That's good. That's already in effect. So
I feel bad for most worshipful Shank because he shows up and he loves us so much here in Texas. Because he loves us so much in Texas, he's got a trailer full of guys that are coming in like a herd of cattle coming into New Mexico for his grand session. We're gonna have a good time there. I cannot wait until we get there and have some fellowship and brotherly love with our New Mexico brothers.
So that's the second
everyone
weekend.
that I know is the most genuine brother I've ever met.
That's the second weekend of spring break, and I'm trying to talk my wife into a New Mexico trip. So she's not so enthusiastic about hanging out in New Mexico while I'm at Grand Lodge, but I'm working on it.
My wife, did you show her where the resort is?
I didn't know there was a resort. Are you taking your wife?
Well, yeah, I always do. They love going to New Mexico. That's one of their favorite things to do is go to New Mexico.
She's a message my wife and talk her into it. Shouldn't listen to me.
I wouldn't.
She's like, I don't know what there is to do in New Mexico. It's like there's I'm sure there's plenty of stuff to do. It's a state. There's things that you haven't done there. There's plenty.
Well, that's like the destination town. That's kind of
what
its
town?
only use is being a destination town.
What town?
Ruidoso.
Ruidoso. Okay.
Yeah, and it's the the hotel is called oh my goodness, something of the gods. Come on, most worshipful.
Garden of the Gods.
No,
Garden of the Gods.
I need to look online.
Hotel of the Gods. It's a hotel.
Never
mind.
It might be it. The Resort of the Gods or something.
Resort of the Gods. I mean, that's a.
But it's awesome. It overlooks this beautiful lake with the mountains in the rear. I mean, it really is an awesome place. I can't wait.
Mountain Inn of the Mountain Gods.
Yes, the Mountain Gods.
March
there you
14th
go.
through 16th. Yes.
Thank you, most worshipful.
Yeah.
Yes.
So have your wife start messaging my wife. Put the pressure on her.
Yeah, we had planned that already, and it was just a bonus that it was on spring break weekend because we would have taken Sarah out anyways. We're bad parents like that.
No,
we believe in the understanding of
travel is just as educational as sitting in a classroom.
Oh yeah.
You'll learn Texas geography. Take them to actual places. Yeah.
Yeah, we actually stop at all the sites. We do it family vacation style, right? The holiday road.
Yes, but I really hope to be there. I really want to go, especially because hopefully by then I'll be a New Mexico Freemason. I think they're supposed to They may have already voted on me. My second vote this month. I don't know. It's soon if it's not, and then I'll be official. So I'll get me one of those hats too.
Well, I'm official for sure. So I'm gonna, I won't be a voting member because I won't be a past master, but I am definitely a member of New Mexico Freemasonry and couldn't be more proud. Can't wait to go get all the swag so that I can show it off in Texas.
David Lawson says it's out on a lake and there's a zip line across the lake. So yeah. Did you ever see that video that it was like The Bachelor? It was a parody, and that dude was only there for the zip line. And so, like, it was like a zip line going across the swimming pool. And they're like, I got the feeling he's only here for the zip line. He like kept hogging the zip line and going across it. I have to send that to you.
Oh my gosh! All right, let's get back to Freemasonry.
Yes, we've been talking Freemasonry. We took a quick detour about zip lines. Apparently, there's a casino there too. That might be.
Yeah, it is a casino and resort. So if you don't see me at Grand Lodge, you'll know exactly where I am.
Moneybags.
I'll be on the crap. Yeah, I'll be on the craps table for sure.
Oh, don't do that. Don't craps on the table, dude. They'll kick us out of New Mexico. Kadim's dual membership with England and France, Mr. Show Off over there.
I know, rock and roll. I can tell you when I go over, that's what I'll be doing is getting petitions and joining.
We need to get Kadim on the show sometime because he took that trip and he went to all those lodges.
Oh no!
I want to hear his story, and so we definitely
then I won't have a chance to talk.
That's fine. I want to hear his story. He also kind of razzed me at Grand Lodge. He's like, "You never let me on the show." I was like, "Dude, you've been on the show 100 times." But he's got a point. Like yeah, blackjack's where it's at. Yeah, I prefer blackjack. It's more you can count cards.
That's a recovery game, and you can't count cards.
Oh,
if you can count cards, I'll give you $20 right now.
Really?
I'll just give you $20 if you can count cards. I'll play a hand with you because I used to deal blackjack. Dude, and I'll play a hand.
It's just like
I'll see how well you count.
It's just like dominoes. You count the dominoes. It's the same thing. If you play with old timers, you know how to count dominoes. You can count cards.
Yeah, whatever. All right, back to Masonry.
Yes.
So what are the questions that are online instead of talking about gambling and zip lines and?
I'm commenting off the comments. Like that's where the conversation's at. We're talking about gambling and zip lines.
Oh my gosh.
Playing blackjack on zip lines.
We have lost our relevance in the Masonic community. That's awesome.
Let me back up and look at some of these.
I'd like to say earlier today, Brother Joe Wages, Kadim brought me in on a post where Joe had shown that he has his books available on Amazon, and I want you to know I've ordered those books. I ordered the hardback copy because I'm a hardback kind of guy, but he has the softback as well. That's about $12 less than the hardback, and what it is the translation from French to English on the degrees of the Scottish Rite.
Oh, cool.
And and so it's available to be purchased now, and you really ought to do that. And I'm going to tell you, there's a few brothers that I really love to listen to when they give a presentation, and Brother Joe Wages is one of them. And if you ever get a chance to listen to one of his presentations, you really need to take advantage and do that. He's really a hidden gem within Freemasonry, and that's really because he's always traveling so much, going to different countries and different states and things like that for Freemasonry. But he's written a bunch of books and is so knowledgeable that it's almost like hanging out with Art de Hoyos, right? They're actually friends, good friends, and they hang out a lot. And then you hang out with him, and it's almost the same thing. It's almost the same way because he's so knowledgeable in all the aspects of Freemasonry that I love, and so he's always a great conversation. So I strongly recommend to get his books because you will be a smarter Mason reading the books that he writes. Just wanted to throw that out there. because there is a link on Facebook on Texas Freemasons right now, and you ought to take advantage and go do that.
That's cool, man. Kadeem says he's working up to be like Dennis, but all the presentation requests you get are about the travels. So I mean, well, you did something a lot of Masons don't get to do. They don't get to travel like that. Um, I would say that speaking of presentations, I'll be at Faith Lodge this coming Saturday, February 3rd. I think they said the presentation. David Lawson, correct me if I'm wrong. I think the presentation starts at noon. I have to look at the time as we get a little closer, but it's like midday. It would be around lunchtime. So if you're in the Wichita Falls area, or it's not too far of a travel, come give us a listen. We're going to be talking about the cardinal virtues. It's going to be a good time. I'm sorry, not just the cardinal virtues. We're going to be talking about the virtues of Freemasonry.
Interesting. Well, expand on that just a little bit. Give us a teaser.
Well, for one, the cardinal virtues, we kind of gloss over them in our degrees. So I want to look into those a little bit more deeply. But we also have 3 other virtues that are very pronounced that we talk about a lot, but we don't really recognize them as virtues, and we kind of misinterpret them. But I don't want to go into that too deeply. I don't want to ruin the presentation. But I think it's something a lot of people aren't aware of. It kind of blew my mind when I heard about it. So we're going to dive into that. It's going to be a fun time.
Okay.
So that's it. Devin McLean says he's looking forward to it. David Lawson. Yeah, it's right now the working title is just the virtues of Freemasonry. And we're just leaving it at that. We'll see as it fleshes out more if I change the title, but I kind of like that right now.
Okay.
But other than that, comments are quiet, man. Everyone got.
I just gave one during the Robert Burns night, and it was about a living legacy. And everyone has celebrated Robert Burns. In fact, the 27th is when most people celebrate Robert Burns, and I think there was a festive word or two during that. At least Robert Burns Lodge had a festive word for sure. If I had been feeling better, I would have been happy to go, but I just wasn't feeling so good after Grand Lodge. But I gave a talk it was for Robert Burns night, and over at Salado Lodge, and it evolved. It moved away so much from Robert Burns himself and moved into our own legacy and our own responsibility. And that's not only, the legacy of what we leave behind, but we have to be thinking about the legacy in front of us that has been left behind for us. Our legacy is only as good as how we interpret the legacy in front of us. So if we interpret it one way, then the way we're going to leave it is going to be a certain way. If we interpret it the wrong way, then the way that we leave it is going to be wrong from the original interpretation. So it's our responsibility to educate ourselves on the true intent of our brothers of the past, so that we will know how to regurgitate that information basically and leave it for those in the behind us, but for the future Masons. And the reason I thought about that is because Robert Burns was relatively young when he passed away, but in that short time he became one of the founding fathers of the Romantic period in poetry and song. And a lot of that was just basically recording or writing down a lot of the lyrics of a lot of the pub songs and a lot of the traditional songs that were sung throughout his time on Earth. And he wrote a lot of that down, and then he also wrote his own as well. And and it impacted a lot of people. He made a real impact in such a short time, but he really took advantage of what the forefathers had left him, and really made it something worth leaving behind in his tracks. So he's remembered by being one that was able to put the love of the forefathers into a relevant place of that time, and it lived forever after that. So when you're thinking about your legacy, then we always got to be thinking about what was the intent of that person, and how do we stay true to that intent. And of course, that's the traditional feel that we try to keep Freemasonry, right? That's what makes us stop in our tracks and not do anything, because we're afraid of ruining the traditions of Freemasonry. But if we really have a good understanding by educating ourselves on who the brothers were, their intentions, what they were trying to accomplish with the craft, then we know how to nurture it and leave a better pathway for those behind us to come. So just a thought. That's the gist of what my presentation was on. And
how long was it when you gave it, out of curiosity?
Probably about 5 minutes longer than that right there.
Oh.
No, it was actually probably 20 to 30 minutes long. Most of my presentations are 20 to 30 minutes. If you can't have me speak in shorter time than that, then I don't need to speak, because I don't like to just touch on the surface of anything.
Mm-hmm.
I want to take some kind of a deep dive and make you think about something on your way home. I want something to stick with you so that you're going to think about it on the way home. If you're not doing that, then it was a waste of my time to even show up.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the idea that I take whenever I'm writing, and hopefully you brothers appreciate that out there and keep me busy, which y'all have so far. That's for sure.
Nice. All right, noon on
Time
the 3rd.
for another wardrobe.
Got you. This guy over here, he's got a hat for every occasion. Look at that.
This is to
You
celebrate
your hat rack right next, like your hat rack's right here.
Speaking of my legacy, my great grandfather's lodge, WWO Stanfield number 217 in the house right here. Mm-hmm. I was gifted the hat and the t-shirt last week by Lodge Brothers, and man, I couldn't be more proud. Talk about a feeling of belonging when a brother from North Texas comes in and says, "Hey, I got something for you," and brings you a shirt that has your great grandfather's name on it, and you know that it was such an integral part of Texas Freemasonry in the early days. Golly, talk about break you down. I really was so touched and felt so loved right in that moment. I still do every time I see it. Thank you, brothers. I'm grateful.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's really cool. How did they know your granddad was a member there?
Oh, I tell everybody.
Oh, okay. That's fair.
Chris is a regular member of our podcast. Chris Rubicek.
Got you.
He's from Stanfield Lodge, and all the things that they're doing, man. I'm all ears on everything that they're doing right now.
Nice.
They're doing some great things. They've got a festive board coming up soon, and they were doing it before drinking was cool in a lodge based on Texas law.
Yeah, I hope to see some of these festive boards pop up close by. I want to start attending some of those.
They are,
that's
man.
Exciting,
everybody's getting ready. So that's why I say get your bylaws changed and get ready, because you too can have a festive board and toast to the mysteries of Masonry. I mean, that's awesome.
Who had those? Do you have those toast?
Yes, that you asked me for that.
Yeah, I need those also. Will you just post those to the inner circle if you have time?
Yeah,
post that to the inner circle, to the Facebook group, and that way we all have access. But I guess you can post the SOPs and everything too if you want to. But I for sure want all of it, because even if we don't do a festive board, you could do the toast. If you do, if you switch your meal to after your meeting, you could do the toast during your meal. And I assure you, a festive board doesn't sound like much. It doesn't sound special until you actually attend one or you host one. And it is so cool. It is so awesome. Even if you're just doing toasts at your dinner, you're elevating, you're raising the bar, and it's so cool. It's a new tradition. It's a custom that brings you together. So it's definitely worth doing.
And if you really wanted to get, become traditionalist or best in practice, I should say, there's videos online that you can watch some of the brothers from England and watch them, join their hands and sing at the table, closing out their festive boards. I mean, it's really an awesome,
Yes.
It's really an awesome sight seeing that happen and seeing the love in all the brothers and that's not just in England, that's all across Europe that they do that kind of thing. And so that would be very cool if we could get back to some basics like that, that we don't have rules against it. So if we can get back to doing stuff like that, getting back to the old traditions, then man, that would be awesome. That would be a statement for Texas, saying, look, we care about what we're doing and we do want to celebrate our traditions and things that, where we come from.
I love that. I shared that video before, but I didn't even think about that till you mentioned it. And there's no reason you can't. Absolutely.
Show it in Lodge.
Let's bring some positive traditions back into Texas Freemasonry and embrace them. Yes.
Yeah.
I love that.
Even if you don't want to get dressed up with the suit and tie and all that kind of stuff, just doing the stuff, and like our brothers at Stanfield and many other lodges, they have their own shirts and hats and whatnot. So just to imagine everybody in the same shirt, unified at the table, doing the song and then toasting the brothers and toasting the ones that are gone, toasting the ones that are there, toasting the Grand Master, toasting, you're toasting everybody, right?
What is that song they sing?
I need to look it up.
It's not that Aldi whatever that I don't even know how to pronounce it.
Old Lang Syne.
Old Lang, yeah.
No.
Oh, it's something different.
No.
Okay. I couldn't remember what it was, but yeah, man, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I'm stoked. That's the very first thing I thought about when I thought about drinking in lodges. I didn't think about having parties or anything like that. I thought about closing lodge with a badass meal and everybody getting together and doing festive board style, toast and everything. And if you don't drink, and make sure your brothers that don't drink know that they're welcome there and that you have plenty of iced tea for them, plenty of, seltzer water, whatever they want, plenty of that for them to partake in and toast with because you love them just as much.
Nobody's going to look in your glass. Nobody's going to look in your glass, right? It's just about positive.
If you want tips, on non-alcoholic beverages, man, call Carlton Newberry. He doesn't drink, and he has all kinds of cool beers that he drinks, and he has all kinds of, different beverages that he drinks in the place of alcohol. And notice he has
beers and all that stuff is what you mean.
Yeah, he has all the zero beers, and you notice he hosted all the events at the hotel, the Newberry hospitality suite with drinks for everybody, but he doesn't drink.
But just because he does it doesn't mean he polices other people.
Right. He wants everybody to have fun. And so make sure that your brothers that don't drink have an opportunity to have just as much fun as you. Make sure they feel included. Make sure they feel loved. And if it's just not their gig, that's fine. If they can't be around it, you got to understand it, respect it, and love them for it.
Yep.
And say, man, next time we hope to see you there.
Most Worshipful Shank says traditional observance lodges. New Mexico has one, and it really takes the lodge experience to the next level. Absolutely.
Yes.
We have a few in Texas, but all the ones I know of in Texas will quickly tell you they're not traditional observance. But If you look at
Best in
traditional,
practice.
yeah, best
Yeah.
practice. But if you look at traditional observance on paper, best practice, kind of the same thing, right? So, yeah, I wonder which one is that in New Mexico? That'd be interesting to check out sometime too. I checked out one of them in Texas, and I enjoyed it quite a bit.
That would be neat to have. We need to talk to Right Worshipful. I mean, I'm sure your weekend is probably planned most worshipful, and I'm not trying to push anything onto you. I
Easy,
know you've had a
easy, easy.
long time dealing with a bunch of garbage. That's all part of it. But next year we can try to influence Right Worshipful and say, hey man, why don't you throw this in? You want to have this party at the end of the installation. Why don't you have a party at the beginning of the year next year, and let's do a traditional style dinner and show everybody how it's done,
Mm.
and actually put the words up on a big screen so everybody has the words, and that if you're getting everybody together, that would be awesome. Could you imagine filling the hall of a hotel with 300 men, uh, going unified, hand in hand at the table, singing that song and doing masonry right? Oh my gosh!
Mm.
Oh my
It's
gosh!
an exciting year, dude. I'm excited for 2024.
You notice how we've got all these possibilities now. We,
Yeah.
we feel so enthusiastic and full of hope and possibility. And all it took was just a couple of votes, and it turned everything around.
Hmm.
That's the beauty of masonry, right? Is that
We sound like we did
you
back in
can
2022 now.
yes.
We came out of
Well,
Grand
actually,
Lodge
at the
and we were
beginning of
excited.
2022.
Yeah, yeah. Cerrillos Lodge? I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that right. Cerrillos. Cerrillos?
The Reyes?
Cerrillos Lodge? Number 19 in Santa Fe. That's what he's talking about. Very
Nice.
cool.
Yes, I want to make sure and check out their uh their meeting times and stuff. By the way, brothers, last week I saw a post on Texas Freemason. Somebody said, "Hey, I'm traveling to Florida to Jacksonville. Can anybody shoot us in the right direction?" And I said, "Well, maybe Nagy can." And he sent them to the Grand Lodge of Florida's website that gives you locations. Man, I had a complete brain fart. Use Amity.
Mm.
That's what Amity is for. You can see which lodges are which, and if they're recognized within your lodge, your Grand Lodge system or not, and take it from there. Call them up, let them know you're coming. Make sure you call your Grand Lodge and ask for a certificate of travel so that you can go do that if you know well in advance. Um, but usually brothers don't get turned away at the door if they really have valid IDs and all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah. Well, let's start
But
wrapping up.
Amity,
I got some kids stirring in the other room. I know they're gonna be in here any second now. They're gonna start waking up
oh
again.
my
I hear them
goodness.
coughing in there.
I
So,
still had one more hat.
well, throw it on for
Just,
your wrap up.
just kidding.
I'll take the lead on the wrap up. Because I know you like to go last. Bottom line is 2024 is a year of optimism. It's a year to move forward. Don't focus on. Remember the lessons that we learned during Grand Lodge in 2023, but don't focus on the negativity, right? Remember what you learned. It goes back to forgive but never forget, right? Let's move forward. Let's be positive. We got a great Grand Lodge lineup. We have great officers. We've passed some fantastic resolutions, and so let's build with that. Let's be supportive of one another. Let's be supportive of our local lodges, of our worshipful masters, of our district deputies, of our Grand Lodge officers. Let's be supportive because other jurisdictions are still looking at us. So this is the year to show not only can we do not mess with Texas, but we can grow. We can improve ourselves and move forward, unlike any other. Because other jurisdictions are going to be watching us, if they're not already, and they're going to, the brothers of those jurisdictions are going to try to look for lessons that they can take to their jurisdictions and improve what's going on there. So let's be that light. Let's be that lighthouse. Let's be that candle on the mountaintop or whatever for the other states, because we have a lot of great surrounding jurisdictions. But there's also a lot of states in the United States where their jurisdictions are dealing with drama, and so they need that inspiration. They need to see that, hey, the Grand West is what controls the Grand Lodge, and they need to work. They need examples and ideas on how they can work within the parameters of their Grand Lodge law to turn things back to the Grand West and start fixing things. Freemasonry, and we said this before, is truly entering a renaissance. It's a renaissance, man. And 10 years from now, we're going to look back and this was the time it all changed across the country. And so we have to be diligent. We have to be vigilant. We have to move forward, build, support one another, stand on the shoulders of giants, and then lift one another up even higher. That's the goal. That's what 24 needs to be about. That's my final thought.
Good one. And based on the beginning of yours, I'll say something that a lot of our mentor-aged Masons said.
One second. I gotta interject this because we have someone watching. We can grow our fraternity, but we have to slow the process down while we do it. Now he can't call me out. Go ahead.
What? Who said that?
I'll tell you after.
Okay. So, okay, that's cool. That's cool. So for a lot of our mentor-aged brothers out there that are watching, that are listening, and the ones that really stood up and gave us this opportunity this year, first and foremost, I want to say thank you. For too long, I created this divide in our narrative, thinking that there was that it was an age difference that was the problem. And I really, at this point, I know it was not an age difference that caused the problem, because we know that our average age in Texas is 66.9 years old. That's our average age Mason in Texas. And you could definitely see it when you looked across the room in Texas during the Grand Annual Communication. You could see that was pretty much the starting age in a lot of areas. Though there were a lot of young Masons there, but you could tell that the mentor age had shown up to do a job, and you got it done. And I'm grateful to you, and I apologize sincerely for the things that I've said in the past that were derogatory towards what you were doing or what you had done, because now I realize that you were just going through the same thing that we went through, except you had 30 years under your belt of going through it, where we only had 10, right? And so I want to say, first and foremost, thank you and for showing up and doing what you did. And we love you, and I'm sorry. I truly am sorry. Mm-hmm. And there's just not enough words to express that. And I hope that through our actions, we've proven that we care enough to not only carry our voice, but carry your burden that you've been putting up with for so long. The next thing that I'd like to talk about is like what Justin had said at the very beginning. And again, the mentor age will identify with this, and it's saying trust but verify. You know, Ronald Reagan said that about the Russians because of things that they said, but didn't necessarily always do. So while we move forward, we will trust but verify everything that happens, because it was not verifying that got us into the situation we're in right now. You know, but now we're in a better place, so we will look to the future, and we will trust that the brothers didn't necessarily mean to take it the way that they to do what they had done. They thought that was Masonry, and now they found out that it's not what Masonry is in Texas, and it's not what we want it to be in Texas. So we're going to trust but verify at this point. Try to build and mend those fences, and move forward with the Masonry that you brothers have been looking for, and what we've been looking for. And we hope to build that together to really honor our forefathers with their intent, take it in, and then leave it better for our kids in the future, so that they don't have such a shit show to deal with when we're gone. Because at some point we're going to be that mentor age that has to relinquish that we're going to have to relinquish that authority. We're going to have to relinquish that need to control. We're going to have to give that to the next generation. So it's our job to teach them right based on what we've seen before us, and interpret that properly, hand it down to them so that we can hand it off to them and let go and say, okay, it's your turn. It's your turn. We trust you. We did our very best with you, and we hope that you understand the pulse of Masonry like we did when it was our opportunity to make the difference.
Yeah.
And so
I love that.
This year's not a year of anything else but rebuilding and renaissance.
Mm-hmm. We are planting trees for our children.
We definitely are. We've never had a better opportunity to prove to the world that Freemasonry is still relevant. It's still, and even really more important today than ever, because we have, our fraternity has been a symptom of what's been going on in our world for quite some time. And with our fall from grace, we realize that we do have something special to offer that nobody else can offer. And there's young men out there that are looking for that. And so we have this opportunity to embrace who we are and what we are, bring back some of the old mysteries and traditions, and then utilize today's technology and the ease of accessibility to really help our fraternity flourish in education and understanding, and so that we can be the very best people that we can be for our lodges, for our families, for our communities, and for each other. And it all boils down to you and me, right? Brother to brother. So with all that being said, peace and harmony is the key, and it's not the end result. It's how we approach each other in getting these things done, with the understanding that our brothers' intentions are pure as gold, just like ours. And we love each other meeting each other. We love each other embracing each other. We love each other debating with each other. And then we love each other when we walk away. That's peace and harmony. Brothers, we love you. Keep it between the points.